of the evening, Navigating the New Normal and Adapting to Consumer Behavior for 21st Century Restaurants. And the session will be led, and the moderator is Ms. Ritu Maria, Editor-in-Chief, Franchise India, Media and Entrepreneur. And speakers, may I invite Mr. Siddharth Arora, COO, Paradise Food Court, to kindly join us on stage. And Chef Chalapati Rao, Chef and owner, Simply South, may we invite you onto the stage. And Chef Shankar Krishnamurthy, partner, Viola Hospitality. The pleasure to welcome Dr. V. Rangaya Setlam, CEO, Indigene Protein Foods Private Limited. And we also welcome Mr. Sampath Srinivas Tummala, founder, The Spicy Venue. Welcome to you, sir. A very good evening. And over to Ritu.
So in the course of the next 40 minutes, we're really going to discuss today about some of the practices that I spoke about, which today are changing the restaurants and therefore the restaurant industry as a whole. How to today build a restaurant brand. Is it, or how different it is to build a restaurant brand today versus what it was in the pre-pandemic era. It's almost like an era has changed in these last 2 years. And since the change is so sort of visible around us, we need to address those changes. So I think that is where our discussion is going to head towards. So to begin with, Siddharth, I'm going to start with you. The restaurant industry, there are consumer behavior evidently one can find their needs are different today. We've always been talking about that India doesn't eat out as much. But, if to eat out, we have to make them eat in. Probably that is something we can achieve, through delivery or by reaching out or taking our foods to their homes on their dining tables, if not on our own dining table. So how do we sort of try to address this consumer behavior as a brand? Particularly if a brand was always used to their own dining rooms. Now, how do you reach more to dining rooms of people's homes by having the right kind of menu, by having the right kind of nutrition that today people are looking at? I mean, I know, in 2020, the consumers were having white flour like crazy. They were cooking everything under the sun. And then 2021, we saw a big shift where, everybody wanted to be fitter, healthier, less food, more nutrition. So, so things are evidently much different than what we used to have from a consumer's perspective. So how are you addressing these changes that are happening, and particularly changes related for your brand to having a delivery in such a big way?
Are facing today. I think what has happened on its own is the fact that consumer behaviors has changed because of pandemic. You mentioned in the conversation that some of us were extremely reluctant to put our food in a bag and send it to a consumer's home. We always thought that that's not the experience that we want to give to our consumer. I think fundamentally the consumers, because of pandemic, have changed their expectations. As restaurant owners, we also have realized that to any great food experience, there is experience and there is product. These are two independent things. Today, when we have conversation within our boardrooms to understand how our food can become more home delivery friendly, while there are certain type of food items which are intrinsically great to be home delivered, they travel really well. For example, a pizza can really travel well. Globally, it's accepted. So how do we ensure that our food preparation also makes food more, travel friendly? For example, should the spices be such that, slightly more spicy, so that by the time it reaches the consumer, the spice levels are at the right, because spice also changes with time and with temperature. Similarly, food product, if rice has to be fully cooked, par cooked. So the product itself has to be looked now from a home delivery perspective. We always used to say the best food, warm, serve it in let's say 2 minutes. It's great on the table. But now there is a 30 minutes window by the time you make it and it reaches the consumers. So the product, similarly the packaging. Packaging is today a replacement to the in-restaurant experience that we used to give. The smiles on our team's face, welcoming consumer today have to be replaced with great packaging. Right. Because packaging does a lot of talking. Great food in an average packing will never appeal. Right. So as a brand, we need to be ready with the right product construct which is right for home delivery, and a lot of times it is not similar to how you serve food in the dining. So your cooking methods might need to change. Preparation times might need to change. Packaging. Another thing is communication. While the consumers are ready, are you talking to them at the right time, informing them that your product is equally great when it comes to home delivery? There were times when customer used to try your brand in dine-in and then order in home delivery because they liked it. Today, it's the reverse osmosis that's happening. Consumers are trying your food on home delivery first. If they like, that's when they start to walk into your restaurants. So the whole communication bit, reminding them, packaging product, everything today also have to be thought from a home delivery perspective. And like you mentioned, about 1/3 of the business is today easily for every restaurant owner is coming through home deliveries. So it's a channel that we can't can't ignore. It is a reality and we have to embrace the reality.
But do you also feel that in one sense, a restaurant owner needs to start thinking like a FMCG company when it comes to delivery? FMCGs are always spot on when it comes to packaging. They're spot on when it comes to their product as it is packaged. Now, if you don't package it right, the customer will not have the same experience on the dining table with that product. So do you think we need more ready to eat instead of, in one sense, maybe it goes in a way that they can probably semi-cooked and they cook the rest of it on their own. So, I mean, are there new delivery trends that are now coming in the market which did not exist earlier, which today everybody should know about?
So I think it's an evolution. It happens all the time, especially in pandemic. Like you mentioned, a lot of do-yourself kits were available because people also had time. Now, today things have again changing. It's such a dynamic world. People are again going back to the offices. Time again is becoming a problem. So yes, there were trends like that. I think the core to restaurant industry is the food that reaches hot, piping hot to you, open and you consume it. We want all the efforts on our side. We want the consumer just to enjoy.
Right.
So that's the core thinking behind sending food out to the consumers. Yeah.
Sampath, do you have any thoughts on this? I mean, in terms of, we all jumped into delivery. We jumped it more as a sort of a stop the crisis kind of model. But now that things are becoming much more clearer, more transparent, how do we improve the deliveries?
Good evening, everyone. So we have to thank the pandemic because the whole industry had bonded that time, and we were all on one group, or we were all on page. We were discussing. We had a lot of ideas. We have exchanged a lot of ideas. Suddenly, in a couple of days, we made a 250 people group and we started discussing. So as Mr. Siddharth told, that there are three things. One is evolution. Because of our necessities or needs, we change our things. And secondly, it is about the packaging, communication, and the experience of the whole. So Spicy Venue or myself, we are into this parcel business from quite some, almost 25 years. So we had a lot of thoughts. We did a lot of brainstorming sessions with friends and industry friends and all. And we had come up to one decision saying that we have to create some confidence in the customer or the guest, whoever is going to take our product. Let it be any brand which is there in our city or in the country. It should first create the whole concept of giving confidence to the customer. So what we thought of is packaging and communicating it properly to the restaurant, the guest. So what we thought is, if we have to pack up biryani as in Paradise or Spicy Venue or a meal, so the shelf life of the product is small for an Indian food brand, because the sweat inside it might change the taste. So we have to educate the customer. At the same time, food handling was not, if it was not properly made and all. So first of all, having a whole, giving a whole experience and saying that this is the confidence what we want to give you. And packaging comes next. If there's no proper packaging, there was no business for us for the whole last 1.5 to 2 years. And thanks to Zomato or Swiggy, they have definitely given a platform for us to reach out to the guests and at least help us serve them at their homes. And definitely now we have to cut down our costs also. It's just not packaging, it is whole about surviving the whole situation now.
Absolutely. And when restaurants had started opening very quickly, everybody was trying to work around the rental costs and, seeing how they will be able to sort of like bring it down. So I think it's the same now for delivery, that everybody is trying to wonder how to sort of bring the whole cost of delivery down to be able to benefit from it. On the same lines, let me ask this from Chef Rao. So that what has also changed is that, there was earlier a formula-based growth that used to happen in pre-pandemic. You want to go to a restaurant, you go there, find a location, put up your architect over there, open the location, and, you were ready. So now how are things sort of going from that progression? As a brand owner, are you still thinking on the same lines in terms of opening new restaurants, or probably, is there different in terms of closing down? And I remember every time any restaurant location used to close down, it used to be like, oh my God, this should not have happened. But sometimes it's just a strategic call, right? The location is not just viable, it was probably viable when it was started. There were people coming there to that, let's say, a particular mall or a high street. But now people don't visit it as often. They go to newer areas. So now how are those calls being taken differently when it comes to growth, unit growth that is happening, or any kind of scalability, or even finding a location or rentals in today's time?
Any brand these days are first looking at the micro market in what kind of scenario they're getting into. And depending upon that micro market, they are positioning the restaurants. So that's a complete paradigm shift from what it used to be. It can be I'll say there might be a big brand in the business district, but if you go to the suburbs, they might come up with a QSR kind of a model, or a easy cost-effective model, rather than getting the same brand there. So the dynamics of business has certainly changed. And you should have certain emotions when you're doing business, but you can't be running your business on completely emotions. There will be times when you need to take certain harsh calls, where you need to take a call and say, no, this particular unit is not viable, it is not giving me the returns what I'm looking at. We need to take that call and shut it down, rather than no funder, no promoter, nobody would like to keep just pumping money into any sick unit. To a certain extent, yes, they will adjust, but it can't be. There's a small catch here. A lot of people think that if a unit is stable, it is able to sustain its own on its own to run that month, or a promoter or anybody doesn't have to pump in money. They think the business is successful. But what will happen to a promoter who has invested crores? What is his ROI? So they need to think. There's a very thin line of business ethics or governance or whatever you call. So that's where the calls have to be taken. And certainly the dynamics have changed. You might not have restaurants which are like 100-seater, 120-seater. Now you will have restaurants which are smaller, which are competitive with other brands, cost-wise very effective. And if there are multiple outlets in a city, people are opting for a central kitchen where they can just have a finishing kitchen at the outlets. So the main production happens at one place, it goes to the outlet, and just it's finished and delivered to the guest. So things have changed a lot from what it used to be a decade ago, and now things have changed.
Sure. Siddharth, your thoughts on this?
I think there has been a lot of that, emotions. Yes, today running a food business is as much emotion as objectivity. Products which are there, but products which are low velocity and low profitability will have to be replaced by something which is more, more viable for a brand. So right from the product to a location, look at your channel mix today. While I might say that 1/3 of my business is home delivery, I have some restaurants where home delivery is 60%. Now in such locations, should I pay a premium of being on a high street in an A+ location? I might go to an A location which is slightly on the side street, and with technology today, discovering a restaurant has become so easy. You don't have to see a signage today to know that there is a restaurant. You open your phone tells you which are the restaurants close by. So if your channel mix have certain restaurants which are extremely high on deliveries, takeaways, you don't spend so much money on rental. Right sizing is again important. If a lot of customers are consuming food in home, which means they are coming out less often. So why do you need 200 cover restaurant? In every catchment, you might have one large restaurant and have 2 or 3 smaller restaurants. Today, the restaurant has to reach to a consumer rather than consumer coming out to a restaurant. Gone are the days when you would drive 1 hour to get to a restaurant. Whatever is closest to you makes the cut. You go there, visit, and come back.
Sure. Another issue sort of issues are there. The pricing issues are there. Anyway, we are very high when it comes to inflation in this country today. And in fact, across the world, we're seeing inflationary trends, particularly food inflationary. I think the food inflation itself is about 10% today, which is really high. It sort of makes your entire food cost go totally haywire. So now how do we make these, and then people are there, they want organic food, and they want vegan, and they want, everything on which they can read, what is the nutrition, what is the protein, what is the carb that they are eating. So all of that they want to touch upon. Now, how will these sustainable menus come to happen? What are you changing in your restaurants to make this sustainable? Shankar, you want to start first?
Let me start by saying that in India, if people want to pay and eat, they will eat nothing but they all want to hear healthy menus, but they go and they want to eat butter chicken and paneer butter masala. Starting from there. So, sustainable menus, all this is good. We also praise to be very fleet-footed and quick into understanding the changes in the market and understanding your consumer dynamics. Above all that, playing to your strengths. That's what I believe in, honestly. So the consumer today is getting, though we are a 20-year-old brand and we have a great loyalty factor there, but the consumer is changing and getting younger by the day. So I would like to work with a younger team. So that way, able to understand how they are working around it. And the need of the day is getting into sustainable menus. I mean, COVID has taught us a lot, of course. That first thing is local sourcing, ingredients. And organic, again, takes the price points on the higher side. So who are you? And which is the market you're catering to? That's very important to understand. So if I am playing in the premium segment, yes, it is very important for me to have the kind of organic food, vegan food, and understanding these are the clients who are coming to me. A large set of profile of these clients to come, and we cater to them accordingly. But the flip side is there are other restaurants which we do where we are catering to a larger segment, where the menus offerings are more friendly. But how do we make it sustainable is exactly local sourcing. And menus have shortened now, which also aids us in reducing manpower, which has been the biggest problem ever since. It's been, and though we are a country of 1.4 billion and growing, but I think everybody in this room will agree with me that everybody is having a shortage of skilled manpower. So that is the race. We are in a constant cycle right now. And so the menus have to be smart. Menus have to be locally produced, whatever is there. And the skill sets which I'm able to translate to my team is what is offering to the guests on the plate, pretty much.
Yeah, but would you not agree that the avocado, which was probably non-existent till about 4 years ago, has become such a huge part of every kitchen? So this has changed.
Yeah, but 8 out of 10 avocados are not ripe. That problem is there. And every chef in this room will agree with me.
No, I completely
agree with you. So that takes the cost up much more.
I agree, but the change is still pretty real, and it's about how we address it and probably grow our own avocados.
Ritu, adding to what Chef Shankar said, we forget seasonality in our menus.
Yeah.
If you look in the Western world, most of the restaurants are run on what they grow in their backyard or farmers market, what is available. And the menu is 4, 5, 6 items, what is available. But the problem in India is we don't go by that. I've not come across many restaurants or hotels who do seasonal food. And as Shankar said, we also, as consumers or guests, we also need to adopt to that and understand and opt for the seasonal food rather than a cauliflower will never taste the same what you get in winter. The same cauliflower will not taste
I
the same
agree. It's
in
frozen,
summer.
yeah, even
So
if you get a frozen version.
what are we
of it.
trying to do?
No,
Why
but
can't
can
we
we
stick-
have our own versions of it? I mean, for example, you talked about millets earlier. You know, that millets were probably, we'd forgotten them, but now they're making a comeback.
Yes.
And we can sort of make a hue and cry about it so that, we're able to
We are
sort of-
doing already. 2023 is the year of millets.
Millets, right.
Indian government has announced it, proposed it, and 70 odd countries are supporting it. So that shows the seriousness of getting millets back into our menus. We always have been, millet eating country and things like that, but over a period of time, we have gone to genetically modified foods or better yield, staples and things like that. The other side of it, if you look at it, the amount of water required to make, to get 1 kg of rice is anything between 5 to 7 liters. But millets is only on the rain, 500 to 700, sorry, Shankar corrects me. And for millets, we don't require to water the plants. It's all from the rainwater they get. So that's a huge difference. We need to look at our resources also, what we are, the eating habits have to change.
But I rarely see in a sustainable menu millets coming in as a part of the menu meal.
Yes, there are a lot of restaurants which are doing healthy foods, and millets are coming on in retail as well as in hotel chains also in a big way.
Yeah. Yes, please, Dr. Setlam, I was going to come to you that you want to add to this.
Yeah, good morning, good evening everyone. As Ritu rightly raised, important aspect in a sense that it's not just menu, what is there in the menu. It can be a nutritional sustenance or whatever, economical sustenance. So nutritional sustenance is the most vital in this. As members pointed out, like Horeca is a customer for the industry, Horeca. See, we are the manufacturers. We supply a lot of ingredients or a lot of final products to the, Horeca, and they ultimately convert them into products and then serve the customers. The biggest lacking is there at present in the whole scenario while integrating the backward linkages, the primary processing part. Like if I don't, we supply milk, we are a milk producer. If we supply unhygiene milk or not well processed milk and all that, ultimately the same lacuna is passed over to the Horeca, and then ultimately what they serve is this. They cannot produce milk. Not every restaurant will keep a cow. Milk has to go, yogurt has to go and all that. So what is lacking in the whole integration is this backward linkages part is still we are lacking. That's one part industry should, think of, and then of course now post-pandemic people realized the importance of primary processing, and a lot of people are doing. See, once that is there, even in the restaurants also, what as a consumer or as a customer, don't mistake me if I utter some wrong words. I am nothing against in the, to hotel industry. See, since we mentioned the sustenance, and then menus, basically, see, everybody are fond of low calorie or low carb or low fat, high protein and all that. So this, and the industry as such is doing a mistake by not inform the consumer about the actual nutrition of the products that they are manufacturing. Because nobody talks about nutrition in the milk, Everybody produces milk. All milk are the same. So what is the process? So why milk is superior? Why adults should not take milk? Why only children? And what is the best format of milk product? So these things, as an industry guy, I should tell. Like that, hotel Horeca also should clearly come out. See, like I can, with the shortest interaction with hoteliers now, what I see, it's all, very, very uniform, and then it's the same thing. Like as Mr. Shankar told, it's a butter chicken only. See, it's not that. what I feel like, hotels should become specialized in a way that, yes, this is the restaurant that serves keto kind of food. This is the restaurant where I get, proteinaceous diet. And this is the restaurant. I mean, even the menus also should be there, I mean, as per the functionality. So unless until this, like evolution comes into, transformation comes into the hotel industry, I think that is one opportunity, as I say. It's not that hotels are not doing well or something like that, but that is another opportunity that is coming up. See, there are many health food companies came up last 1 year, 2 years, 3 years and all that. I think every hotel should come up with this kind of this thing and all that. So people should start asking, against the functionality. This is what my feeling is.
Sure. No, and I think...
So I'll just add one more thing. You spoke about avocado. Glamorizing and fashionable ingredients, what is happening in the West is what is being picked up and said this is the modern trend in cooking. We are also equally guilty. Like we spoke about the millets and all. Today, there is a reverse transformation. Regional Indian food is being put on a Michelin star restaurant and sold at $300, right? A plate, a meal. Whereas in India, if any of us put pumpkin on the menu, which is considered exotic outside, a papaya on the menu or banana, people think it's the cheapest dish. So this whole psyche, also glamour, what we are trying to achieve is whether it is nutritious or how do I make it fashionable, how do I make it, exotic, is what is a constant learning process and implementation process from all of us.
No, I agree with you, but I also, would beg to differ here that now the government has done its bit in terms of glamorizing millet. Now, what have restaurants done to glamorize the millet in their menus is the real deal. I still don't see millet-based menus or, a complete, the way I see avocado in a restaurant, I don't see millet that way. So it's up to us to really make that, the most loved, or to be said that, oh, it's a millet-based food. You have to take the onus of it and do it.
I just like to talk about, see, in South Indian restaurants or regional Indian food, millets, or a single polished rice is definitely been asked from last few years. Now that you've told that millets and everything, everybody is catching up. See, in this room, I think most of the upscale restaurant brands over here, we're talking about the larger chunk where now the delivery apps have encouraged them and they are more visible than the bigger brands. So one more new thing which has come up with, the central government has come up with, saying that more than 10 outlets, everybody has to mention their nutritional values also. But what does the normal standalone restaurant owner or a small eatery know about that? So I think we have to slowly join hands and small brands and big brands come together, hire some microbiologists or nutritionists and do this nutrition values and educate the team. The guests who are coming in. Definitely in Indian and regional food is the healthiest food what I know about than the global food or maybe other Western food. So these should come into picture, but educating them and also having a proper channel so that everybody knows that not only the upscale market, the lower level small brands also should know about it.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, and I think the education, and not just to the brand owner or to the entrepreneur, but I feel right down till the last level, everybody in the kitchen, the chef, sous chef, everybody should know about it to be able to bring that difference. Okay, moving out of food, I want to also touch upon the tech side in the business. Now, today, of course, now whether it is payments or whether it is back of the house tech, all of it is prevalent and all of it is sort of real in restaurants today. So, but is there some kind of clarity in terms of investments at your end or in terms of understanding that, this is the tech we really need and the rest is probably all at vanity at this stage, maybe, to just glamorize the restaurant or make it sound different or more experiential. So what is the tech that we really need, and what is the tech which we need to glamorize it? Whether it is in the dining or in the back of the house, in the kitchen. So, I mean, if you can educate us a little more on that. And, I mean, how do you make a wise investment in tech instead of just investing in tech blindly?
Look at it, now the trend across the hotels and restaurants are changing. They are more data driven. To give an example, what Simply South as a brand we do here is, we have a data which tells me first Monday of every month, I need to make so many thalis. To that extent, we keep tracking, and that is what is communicated to the production team. These many thalis have to be made on this, because on Monday, this is our sale overall we have been doing, and we keep tracking on that. So to that point, we analyze the data, and then, for example, if restaurant is operational, but between 7:30 and 8:45, it's a lean period where your capacity utilization is getting hit. So that's where we would like to run a offer or a extend a offer to a client to come and so that we get the complete capacity utilization. So we are targeting to that kind of. So most of the restaurants have moved on the tech front, as you rightly said. Now, I know some point of sale where kitchen display system is there, where you can directly communicate to the stewards, directly say, okay, starter of this particular table is ready, you can just pick it up and serve, rather than waiting for the main course also, or somebody to take. To that extent, the point of sales have been developed in such a way. Recently, I had an interaction with graduates from IIT Mumbai. They have come up with a kitchen in Powai, where they are trying to standardize recipes. You don't have to be there physically. Recipe you standardize and give them, and you cook it. So they record. They have recorders, and there's something term what he used, which tells you even if you sim your stove, it records. So when the same recipe is getting replicated, maybe in US, with the same ingredients, you will get the same taste, texture, everything. So that's the kind of tech which is getting involved, and they're working in a big way to take our cuisine to the world. You don't have to send a chef there, you don't have to, because any chef who is there, going by that, they can do the same cooking. That's how the only difference is, here we use gas, or some places we use induction. There we have to use only induction. So to that extent, they are working. I met 4 graduates from IIT Mumbai. Fabulous, system what they are working on, and people are funding them in such a big way. So they requested me if I can do some recipes for them. So I said I will do it. So that's the way the kitchen automation is happening. Imagine somebody sitting in US, like Mr. Sampath's, somebody wants to have a chapa pulsu. He will feed in the recipe. Anybody sitting in US can make the same thing if they get this ingredient. So I asked them, if there is a variation in ingredients, how does your artificial intelligence work on it? So they are working on that system where it will moderate. For example, the spice level of one particular chili powder, what he might use or what I use, maybe of different spice. Variation will be there. So to that extent they are working. So you can imagine the kind of automation is happening in present day. It's in a very different level right now.
Picked up the word automation is the key word today from a tech perspective. And if you, and particularly with, the people, on the people side, we're anyway challenged. So whatever we can standardize and to whatever large level we can do it, I think our answers will become much easier, challenges will become easier to address. Are you also working towards this?
Yeah, see, a few years back, listening to a few of my friends who have four-wheeler agencies and all, having a chain of restaurants like Amarbai and all, they used to buy SAP, and we used to feel, what is this SAP and what is this ERP and all. So nowadays, after these delivery aggregators coming up and helping us having our own dashboard, we got to know what analytics are, which week what is happening, what date we are selling what, which is the highest sale and all. So After that, post-pandemic, as we discussed, the deliveries or the parcels have picked up. Almost many of our restaurants have doubled our sales. So after seeing that, we had to get into investing into technology and seeing that these apps are integrated with our POS. And earlier, when in our childhood people used to write KOTs with their hands, then we saw the evolution of people handling the whatever pads and all. And now we are also getting and we are also investing into, maybe in future we see small standalone restaurants also investing into robotics and artificial intelligence also.
Absolutely. Sampath, you've been expanding very aggressively over the years. So what have you in tech terms brought into the restaurants now?
So how we look at technology is how we look at any raw material in a restaurant. Practically every aspect of the restaurant operations, like, Chef Rao mentioned about all the glamour part of the tech, as you mentioned, things which are possible. We look at technology to solve the current issues, and what is possible, yes, of course, will help in scaling up. So, for example, the whole control in a ever-growing business, where your team today is churning dramatically, practically every 6 months to a year, you have the whole new team. That's the level of attrition in the industry. How can technology help make their job easier? Somebody who's with you to work for 6 months to a year only, how does he pick up the whole cooking part very, very seamlessly and easy? Can technology help there? Can technology help you with better controls? Can technology help you with a better customer experience? Some of it was forced on us during pandemic, where you can't reach out to a customer, he'll just scan a QR code and do it. So today technology solutions are available across. As a brand, you have to decide what works for you, what helps you move ahead, and what is not glamour. It's very important to differentiate between the real worth. Is it sustainable? I mean, let's say you have something which tells you something which is very important about a customer. If you can put it to use, great, go ahead and invest. But if it's only information, good to talk, you'll have to look at through an ROI lens. Do you really want to invest in that? Because for all of us, the capital available is always limited. Right. Now, it is very important for us to know that do we have to buy that new gas range, is more efficient and can cook faster, or invest in SAP? So these are the small questions that we answer on a daily basis. If the ROIs are justified, we go ahead and use it. Yep.
Absolutely. You're right, I think, in terms of saying that capital will always be less than, what your vision for tech could be. So therefore, one has to be judicious there. Finally, I would, before I sort of open the floor and maybe invite some questions, today, so we're living in a world of experience. People are sort of betting more their monies on better experiences than buying just goods. Or so in terms of eating out, it's less about eating out, it's more about the experience that you'll have during those 1 or 2 hours when you go out and eat. So how are experiential restaurants being created? How have you moved alongside food to bring that experience to your customer? You, of course, you on the nightlife side, that's such an important part of it. So, of course, all of you run restaurants. So what experience are you really bringing to the customer, which today they sort of come for, they're ready to pay an extra dollar for, and, they're able to sort of say that, 2 hours well spent. And not just eating. I mean, it was like whatever they were wishing to achieve in terms of going out of their homes to have a good time, you help them achieve it.
See, hospital, which is all the necessary things for today, but the one thing which is the concrete glue, which is always going to be part of the industry, is a human touch. Yes, pandemic came in, we started this contactless dining, but today people are asking for menus. They want to feel the menu cards. They are saying see again, generation, who is your client? Is it a 20 plus or is it a 40 plus? Makes a big difference. But how you balance it out is what it is about. So personal attention is never going to go out of style, 100%. Whether you go to a bar where you're a bartender, you're happy, comfortable with that bartender, chatting up with him, or you go to a barber shop for that matter, it's the same barber. You don't change these people. It's out of habit and it's a connect. It's a connect. So every restaurant or a bar, or whatever, has a certain piece of connect which draws you back. This is whether you call it nostalgia over a period of time. So that is where the personal connect is there, the human factor is there, and that is something which we need to be getting better and better in it. How? Getting smarter staff, well-trained staff, and most important, today, the one thing consumer looks at is communication. He doesn't care whether your food is bad or how this thing, but if the person who's serving you is handling your problem and is able to answer you, take care of your issue sensitively, I think that's the biggest win we can have as restaurateurs and all that. And that's something which is an uphill task for us, but it's a mandatory thing that every one of us have the responsibility to ensure that kind of training and experience is provided in order, because I always say this business is not about making you come. The business I work towards is making you come back again. That's what it is all about.
It's all about customer delight and giving him the maximum importance when he's here. That's the main.
It's something like this: Eastern hospitality versus Western hospitality.
I mean, I think talking about hospitality, we can't just run away from that. It's extremely important.
On the experience side, anything
So-
sort of which is a step
Sure.
up?
So we run a restaurant which is extremely predictable. Our cuisines is extremely predictable because we have a 70 years of legacy and heritage. The challenge that we face today is that how do we keep that consistency going on a daily basis rather than innovate so much. So we are slightly in a slightly different zone when it comes to creating newer experiences. However, having said that, I mean, to maintain the same old standard of last 70 years of hospitality, the same consumers coming back every Sunday to your restaurants, a lot of times your customers know more about your restaurant than what actually you know. They've been such, coming so often. So how do you ensure that, they get the same or even better experience every time is extremely important. And sensitivity, the team training, and how they deal with the customer is extremely, extremely important. I mean, we can't ever overemphasize on the fact that how hospitality is the backbone of the whole restaurant industry. So I'm completely aligned with what everybody else said, that, it's important.
Ritu, I would like to add one thing. I have known some customers who are very regular to our outlets, and they insist that only one particular steward serves them. I'm sure it happens in all of the restaurants. So hospitality industry cannot be without human touch. From valet to till they go back, you cannot remove that human touch. How much ever of you get in the automation technology, but that human touch is required.
Sure.
As you mentioned in your speech, the data, that intimacy messages and all that, matters a lot. It's a part of hospitality.
No, I think absolutely right. The human connect never goes out of the door. So the more it is there, the more your customers are going to sort of come back to you and be able to do justice to you. So, I think a great discussion. Happy to take a few questions from the house. I mean, somebody, if they would like to sort of make a point or ask something from our stellar panel, we'll love to be able to answer it. Okay, everybody is very clear. Are there some questions? Okay. So any last final word coming from your side, maybe very quickly, if you can sort of, concise the change in one line and say that, okay, this is the one advice that you would like to give to the fellow members of the peers to the restaurant industry, that would be nice. So starting from you, Siddharth.
I think we need to lose your basics. That's where it all started. That's what I'll say.
The dynamics of business have certainly changed, but earlier certain brands used to drive the dynamics. It's now the customers who are driving the brands. So the dynamics certainly has changed.
To your strengths, do what you can do it well, and understand who your customer is.
There should be a proper connection between the industry and the HoReCa. because the hygiene or whatever nutrition that persists only when there is a good link between these two.
As a small request to all the fraternity over here, I'd like to say that let's all standalone, small time eateries, everybody, let's live up to a standard. Say, our staff is well trained, trained about hygiene, and let's dress them properly, give them all what we can, and see that each restaurant and each member of the staff give a very good customer delight to our guests. As well as let's tie up in such a way that even our staff knows that we are here to scale up. So all small brands should also scale up like big brands, and they also should flourish well.
To all of you, and thank you for sharing your insights so openly. And together we'll build this beautiful industry.